Hi everyone. Okay, I'm just gonna wait a few seconds for people to log on and wait for Rachel to log on as well, because I know it takes a few seconds. Hi everyone. Say hello in the comments. We're gonna get started as soon as Rachel Tuckman hops on, and we're gonna talk about how to deal with all this craziness, the stress some of us are having, and well, I think most of us are having, especially if you have kids or maybe you are have elderly that you love that you're worried about, or you're worried about your own health. So, and then that might be impacting your eating habits and stressing you out even further if you struggle with your relationship with food. So we're going to talk about all that today. I'm just going to wait for Rachel to hop on. Tell me where you guys are from, because I think it's always so cool on social media how we're at social distancing right now, but we still can be social from like all over the world, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. So I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment, and we don't have like any yard or anything like that. Like it's in a building. So, oh, here's Rachel's asking to be okay. We have like this small space that we're in, so definitely need to focus on mental health right now. So, okay, so Rachel's coming on. Hi, how's it going? Of course. I hear you, but I don't see your face, so I see that it's still connecting. Do you see me? Okay, fine. So I'll just wait a second. Um, I will say my daughter's actually still up in the room. Bedtime is like everything's like I feel like it's crazy right now with schedules and like everything, which is part of I think what we're going to be talking about, like just the overwhelming stress of what's been happening. Like, how are things by you? Yeah. You can't go into the virus. They have no idea what that means, though. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think so many are in the same boat. Some people are saying they can't hear you. So, oh, a lot of people are saying they can't hear you. Oh, okay. Do you guys just see me nodding to like what Rachel is saying, basically? Okay. So here's what. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hop off and then come back on. Hopefully, sometimes we do that. Guys, sorry, we're gonna wait a second and get Rachel back on. But what Rachel was sharing was basically her trying to get into a routine with her kids, and she'll we'll talk about it again when she comes on, but that we all have a lot going on and we all are trying to figure this out, and you're really not alone. Like, we're all really trying to just readjust ourselves. And let's invite Rachel here. And so today we're going to be talking about the stresses of that, and then how to cope with all these changes and deal with everything. Hi, Rachel. Okay, yay, we see you.
Everybody hear me now?
Can everyone hear you? Confirm. Just confirm in the comments that you can hear Rachel before, because I think everyone was just seeing me nodding.
Right.
They're like, what are you doing?
Something, but nothing happening. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So she says, yep. Okay, Megan says, yep. Okay, awesome, great. So Rachel, you were sharing how you're also trying to get into the rhythm, and like your 4-year-old doesn't really, she's the only one who kind of has enough structure. It's hard for her.
Yeah.
And I was saying how so many of us are in the same boat. I even feel like having online school is great, but at the same time, it's even more stressful because then you have to help them stay in their chair. And let's say for my kid who's very like highly active, it's like now they have a free for all because they could be all over the house. And it's like online school is great, but at the same time, you're like, I gotta like you're kind of in school with them. You can't really do anything, right? Yeah, yeah. So we have a lot going on beyond just, some people don't even have kids, but they are still stressed out, lots of things to have in mind. Like food scarcity is a big one, like people getting anxious about that. And
Yep.
then there's also, different like personalities. If you're already a highly anxious person, this is like can take you overboard. So let's talk a little bit about that. Can you share with us, first of all, what I'm assuming you're still seeing like people and they're like, especially in these times, you need someone right now. So what are the concerns that are coming up for people? And then also, I think it's important to be able to identify like what's the difference between just being stressed at a healthy level and what's already something that you need to really get some coping mechanisms for, because having the awareness to differentiate will help you then seek the coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
So can you share with us a little bit about that, like what's normal level and then what are like signs, symptoms that it's getting to a place where you need to get a little bit more get more coping mechanisms?
So I think that right now everybody is experiencing stress, right? And stress is caused by something external, right? So it could be you're having financial problems, which a lot of people are facing right now. You're having marital issues, which a lot of people might be facing right now. Job loss, a lot of people are facing that right now. Fighting with your friends, health scare, whatever it is, there might be something that is causing you stress. It's something external. Generally, what happens though with stress is that usually after that situation diminishes, after it goes away, or the concern has kind of like subsided, the problem is resolved. You feel better. You're okay. You're like, all right, I quit that job. I made up with my partner. We found out that, the virus is going away, and they're saying it's only going to be a couple more weeks. That they didn't say that, but I'm giving an example. Then we're able to be like, okay, I can breathe. I'm okay now. Anxiety has a more internal origin, and that's this feeling of apprehension or dread in a situation that generally is non-threatening. So I would say here, this situation feels very threatening, so we feel stressed, but the anxiety it's a persistent problem that's not going away. And so you're not just like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. I feel like, when is this going to end? It's so stressful with the kids and coordinating and whatever. But then you're also like, oh my God, what if I die? What if I have it? Checking your temperature, checking your kid's temperature, terrified to go out. When you go to the grocery store, you're not just being hygienic, you're being over the top, like maybe with a mask and the gloves and wash your hands and the minute someone coughs, you like look at them like you want to kill them, and you're like so on edge, highly emotional, crying a lot. That's anxiety. And it's when you cannot control the feelings that you're having. So it feels like out of control. With stress, you can kind of like usually bring yourself down. You could talk to someone. It's you understand that it's just a feeling, it's going to pass. Anxiety, it's really irrational. And maybe in your rational mind, you're like, I shouldn't feel this way. Why am I terrified that I'm going to die? Like, I know I'm not going to, but you can't control that feeling of dread. So if that's something that's where it becomes a problem, and that anxiety is when it's getting in the way of your functioning, that you can't take care of your kids. You can't focus on working from home, not because you have, 3 kids behind you, like trying to get on Zoom and whatever, but you can't focus on your work because you're so anxious and you can't sleep and you're having difficulty, formulating your thoughts, and you kind of feel like you're walking around in a fog and you just can't kind of like get through your basic functions of the day. That's when we say, this anxiety is too much for you and you need to figure out how to cope with it. You need to get tools. You need to talk to somebody. You need to recognize that it's a problem because you can't function that way. Your anxiety won't let you function. So when it's to a point where you just feel like, I have no energy for this. I can't do it. I can't get this like heavy feeling and it's interfering with my job and my being a parent and my being a partner and my being a daughter and whatever it is, my relationships, my everything, I need to get help for it. So
I think it's just so important from the get-go to differentiate between that, because, if you're at a place where you're feeling that way, it's not about like, well, I should just know how to cope, or like everyone else is figuring it out, or like, you should be able, or you should seek help, or, that's another thing I wanted to ask you is, if someone can't afford, because that's also a big thing, like if they can't afford to get therapy, because there are definitely the people get virtual therapy now.
Yeah.
if they can't afford therapy, then what are coping mechanisms right now, specifically within the setting of, let's say, like if someone is overwhelmed by like the kid's schedule and fear of getting it or things like that? What are helpful coping mechanisms that they can work on themselves?
One thing that I would offer that I think is a good idea is that I don't know if people are offering this, but I think one coping mechanism is looking at where you're getting your information from and kind of really like reducing that circle of where you get your information from. So having one source of information that is accurate and reliable. So that's already going to help you manage your anxiety. So get off of news sites, stop getting the alerts in your WhatsApp group that's sending you all this
I don't read anything. I mean, whatever I need to know, my husband tells me. Obviously, you want to know, but like, I get literally, my WhatsApp has never been so busy in my life. Like, I'm just like, and the thing is, it's reposting of the same thing over and over. It's like, I've seen this video like 3 times from 3 different groups. Like,
you saw the article, you saw the thing. Like, stop reading WhatsApp groups. Don't have news alerts on your phone. Give yourself a time once a day for 30 minutes. I'm going to go to the CDC website and I'm going to look at the latest news because that's the most reputable place to go. I'm going to go to the CDC website and I'm going to see, and daily they have updates. You can go to CDC and put in COVID-19 and they'll put in the latest updates. They had one today. I was just reading. And they're telling you what's going on, what they're figuring out every day. That should be where you look, not from a forward, from the sister, from the brother, from the cousin. Don't do that. So looking at how much media you're taking in and how much information you're taking in and reducing that significantly. That's one way to manage your anxiety. And it's pretty easy. Turn off notifications. If you're on Instagram and you follow news sites or whatever, mute them, unfollow them. For now, you can always follow them. It's done.
And I'll say, just to add to that, I'll say that also with like food and things like that, like there's just so much, I want to say it nicely, but like BS on Instagram and just everywhere, like drink this vitamin and you'll be protected. And like for people who already have an unhealthy relationship with food and are stressed out, like that is not helpful, especially because it's also not true. Like it's so new, this virus. There's no way to know like how to deal with it. I mean, they're doing the best with social distancing and washing your hands, but there's no like research yet on this.
No immunity boosters, and I've seen all drinks and shakes and whatever it is. Like none of that stuff works, guys. They can't even know that it works because this is a totally new virus that we know nothing about. So to say, oh, if you drink this shot of like weird, disgusting juice that you make and you're going to be fine, that's based on nothing. And we don't know what that can do to you. So let's just follow the guidelines of the CDC and let's follow the guidelines that we know that are good for our health, which mean trying to reduce our stress, having healthy relationships, movement that makes us feel good. And nobody can go to the gym now. And that is, hard for some people, but that doesn't mean that you can't move. It doesn't mean you can't take a walk outside. You can. It doesn't mean you can't ride your bike. Don't ride bikes in massive groups, but take your kids or go by yourself and go for a bike ride. There's so many different ways that you could still be moving your body that you don't need to be in a 50-minute gym class sweating your brains out. A lot of gyms are offering online content. If you have that, do it. But it shouldn't be a source of stress for you. And again, stress is not good for your health either. And stress impacts your immunity. So don't worry about making the shake and shoot, I have to go to the store because I don't have turmeric and I don't have vitamin C supplements. Don't make it.
Yeah.
A cup of water, go take a walk outside. And not a cup of water because that helps fight the virus. That's also not true.
I've seen that. I've drink a lot of water and flush it out. And I'm like,
gargle.
What are you talking about?
No, have water because it hydrates you and it's good for you. But don't fall for that stuff. And again, it's important to remember also that during these times, a lot of people prey on the vulnerabilities and the fear that people have. So they're like, great time for me to sell my product or call up an old lady and be like, oh, we need your social security so we can find out if you have COVID-19. People are trying to take advantage.
Oh my God. That's not funny, but like, it's so ridiculous. I'm laughing. It's horrible.
We need your social security. Like, this is when the scammers come out. So you have to be really aware of the media and of what you're reading and fact checking. That is one way to reduce your anxiety. And again, those groups that you're on, they're not helpful and they're not accurate. So much of the stuff that's being shared is not true.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way. to manage anxiety. One piece. Cut the groups, limit media consumption, and go to the source where you will get accurate information, that's helpful to you and not stressful.
Yeah. And so just for anyone who's joining now, we're just covering in general stress and anxiety and ways to cope with it before we get to the discussion on food and like your eating habits, because if your eating habits are all in feeling like disarray, out of control, whatever it is because of an emotion, we first have to get to the root of the emotion before we're talking about food, because, trying to talk about food first is like treating the symptoms when the root cause is the stress and anxiety. So this is an important conversation to have. So, and what about, I think one of the biggest, so there's the people who are overwhelmed with all the information and stressing out about, the fear of the virus. But then what about all the moms who are home, like me and you, and whether they have online school or not, it's just, especially if they're living like in smaller spaces. I mean, I'm in a 2-bedroom, no yard, like, some people are, I know people who are 6 kids in a 2-bedroom. So kind of crazy. Yeah. So how do you manage like the mom aspect of the stress, especially with like social media can be a very like everyone having their perfect schedules and making it look like, oh, we have bonding time now. And like, meanwhile, you're like, get to bed,
So my philosophy for myself, and this is really something that I believe should be for really across the board. And if you want to do different, great. But I really think that we should set the bar super low, right? So that means just basic structure. And by that, I mean, not violin lessons and baking and, art. I mean, basic structure means we have the same wake time and sleep time every day. So we're sticking to the bedtimes that we normally have during a school week. We're getting dressed every day, right? So no pajamas, like we get up, we get dressed, we brush our teeth. We have our morning routine, right? If your kids pray in the morning, that they pray. And then, if they have school happening, if they have some online thing, like they could do that right away. And if not, then they can do their own thing, right? But getting dressed and brushing teeth and meal times, right? So that means we have a normal breakfast. If you're not hungry, okay, no problem, but we're having a breakfast. There's a snack time, there's a lunch time. And even sticking in my house, we've just been sticking to like what we normally pack them for lunch. That's what we're giving them for lunch also during the week. I'm trying to come up with creative lunches now, like whatever I would do during the week, that's what you're having now also,
I even actually, I usually pack my daughter like a lunchbox for school. So I'm just keeping that routine.
Yeah.
Just to stay in routine. But again, like if that's okay if you're not doing that. Like it's just have those, like you said, structure, which and just keeping to that versus like, let's do this, fancy arts and crafts from 1 to 1:30, and like that's cool if you do that. But I love that, like just setting the bar really, really low. So sorry, I interrupted you. So go on.
Keeping to that structure, I think that's very easy. And then anything above and beyond that is like a great win for you, But I think that if you just keep the bar really low, then it's easier for you at the end of the day to be like, you know what, we did it. Like, it's okay. But if you have all these grand plans for all the activities you're going to do, you can't control how your kids are feeling and their moods or whatever. So if they don't want to do the, exercise time that you plan for them or the project or the baking, you're going to feel very disappointed and frustrated with them. So I think that if you really just kind of have loose plans or really no plans other than get up, get dressed, meals, wake time, sleep time, then anything in between is like a real victory for you. And for them, like they don't feel so pressured also. And I feel like kids like structure, but they also like to have like freedom. And for them, we also want them not to be stressed out that like mom is breathing down my back or dad is yelling at me that I have to do my work. Like this is stressful for them too. So we really need to just give them a little bit of time to like relax and kind of do their own thing. Like they're not getting social interaction face to face with their friends. So this is hard on them too. So even if you give them an iPad and they FaceTime with a friend or they FaceTime with your parents or, they FaceTime with your sister, even though your sister's probably like, tell your kids to stop calling me, I'm busy too. But you're like, hey, got to do my work. Sorry, maybe that happened. Maybe that didn't. I don't know. That's what you do. But it's just, I feel like if we give ourselves a little bit of grace and we just don't make ourselves so have such high expectations of like what our kids are supposed to be doing and what we're supposed to be doing, that also helps, So everything comes as it goes. And again, if you have just these basic things in place that you could do, you could get the kids up and get them to bed and have meals and get dressed, like that's great, and anything in between, whatever it is.
Someone, which is actually in line with what one of the someone asked. Like I put a question box and someone asked that her school basically she doesn't have online schooling. I don't think she does, and her school gave like all this material to teach their kids, and she's like feeling super overwhelmed that she now has to like teach her kids that. So she's like, should I just let go of that? Like, should I just not teach my kid then? Like she feels just so overwhelmed and doesn't know what to do in that situation.
Right. So actually another therapist who is on Instagram and who I love, and she's a colleague, so she's a friend also, Ellie Chevalis. She actually does homeschool her kids, and she is like the master at this. And I have a group that I'm in with her, and we've been saying, some of us, the other people that are in it, like, oh, like our kids going to be like dummies now, like what's going to happen to them? Like, are they going to learn? Are they going to, like they're going to show up to 4th grade next year, hopefully, or 5th grade, whatever grade, and they're going to be like, like we're so nervous. And she was like, guys, your kids are gonna be fine. Like there's still so much for them to learn. They don't need to be sitting with that textbook and you're standing over them, and like there's still so much that they can get from being at home and doing activities and seeing you happy and interacting with you. And even if they're not interacting with you, giving them the iPad and letting them go on ABC Mouse, or letting them do
by the way, ABC Mouse. Thank you. So great. Yeah.
Or just even like a game of like Tetris or SimCity, like anything they could do to be just using their brains and learning. You could put on educational videos on YouTube. Like it's okay, So we don't have to stress about like she needs to do her spelling, she needs to do her math. Like they'll be okay. Kids, thank God, they really are sponges and they really learn so quickly. So whatever they're missing in these few months that they're not going to be in school and that it's kind of like lagging, they'll make up, they'll be okay.
I think we put so much value on education is super important, but we put so much value on like academia. Right. I'm saying you think like I know a word like academia, but yeah, academia. So we put so much value on it and not enough, I think, on like emotional and like social well-being for children and intelligence. You know, like this is a time now where it's stressful, but at the same time, like if your kids are old enough to remember this time, they could also remember it as like an experience. Like they might not be like a 4-year-old might not be scared or whatever it is, but like she will, like a 5, 4, 8-year-old can remember that time of like, remember that time where like, we I got to watch movies for like 4 hours straight. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's not for life. Like they'll be fine. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's or that time where like we hung out and you read books to me or whatever it is that works for you. You know what I'm saying? But your kids will remember it in that way versus like mommy was stressed and like forced me to sit down with the textbook and it was horrible. Right. So it's like it is going to be over, and it's like in the grand scheme of things, it's a micro moment of your life. Like you're saying, I'm picking sponges. Yeah.
They'll be okay. No one's gonna be
yeah, absolutely. So let's just move on to some questions that I got related to the eating that's happening, because I'm also seeing like a lot of things on Instagram like, here are tips to like not gain weight right now, or like just a lot of controlling, restricting kind of language and fear-mongering of like, oh my God, you're stuck at home with your food and you're going to put on like 100 pounds. And you know what I'm saying? And that's really not what we need right now when this whole conversation is about stress. And like, we're already stressed, so we really don't need that right now. But I do understand people are at home if they are stressed and not coping. Hopefully now you have some coping tips here from Rachel, but they're not coping well. It could feel even more stressful to feel out of control with food. So I do think to discuss that. So I guess I'll bring up some of the questions, and then you can give me like your thoughts on that and kind of have a discussion on it. And then you guys, I know we haven't been looking at the comments. You will look at them as we go with these questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So question mostly on like eating. Well, before we get into the emotional eating part, there's someone who's like, I don't have an appetite. So I'm actually not eating right now. Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go ahead and say, like, you still need to eat. I think, right? I think with like intuitive eating, and we actually had this discussion,
Yeah.
we like DM'd, yeah, that intuitive eating is not like eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. That could actually become dangerous. Like if you're not hungry, but logically you know you're not eating enough, you need to eat even though you're not hungry because your body still needs it, even though you're not getting the signals because of stress.
Right.
So you give your input on that.
So definitely, like when we feel stressed out, generally, we lose our appetites, you know, although they there is some research that people who are typically more restrictive in their eating actually will become more hungry when they're stressed out. So that might be something to look at. If you're getting very hungry when you're stressed out, or you're emotional eating or binging, people like to say those words, I would really get honest with myself and say, like, have I been like someone who diets or restricts? Because generally the typical reaction to stress is appetite loss, right? So it's been found though that people that do have increased hunger during stressful times, that's because of a history of restricting. So just something to think about. But we start losing our appetites, yes, because our bodies, what happens when we're stressed out, our brains start reacting. They start telling us, uh-oh, like you're in trouble, like we got to run. So the last thing you're thinking about is food. You're thinking about protecting yourself. Do I have to beat someone up? Do I have to run away? Do I need to pretend that I'm a statue so I don't get killed? What do I need to do? So you lose your appetite. So what you need to do in that moment, then, is tell yourself, I know I'm not so hungry right now because I'm feeling stressed. Eating is a part of like self-care, and actually it might make me feel a little bit better. So yeah, I'm not starving right now, but maybe I could have something small, and maybe that will make me feel a little bit more relaxed. And that's kind of a point that I really want to highlight, because food should be comforting. Food should make you feel good. It is inherently comforting. Otherwise we wouldn't do it. We are built to want to eat, right? So that we thrive. And you see it even with a baby, right? They cry and we feed them and they stop crying, right? And they're comforted. And when they're tired, we nurse them and we put them to bed, or we give them a bottle, right? Or like, this is a comforting thing for us, like from the very beginning. So
and we also bring them close. Like the whole experience of them eating is like, you know, human contact, and like just think about how you hold a baby when you feed them. It is a very comforting,
yeah,
you know, experience for them, for sure. Which actually brings me to that, what you mentioned just now. So someone asked, like, why am I as even more hungry, even more hungry than usual without even moving a lot? And I think that relates a lot back to what you just said, where really reflect a little bit on like your history. Before you were kind of on lockdown in your house, were you restricting? And now it's like you're home and you're stressed, and now you're feeling hungrier. I'm just gonna get the baby 1 second, but you can give us some like your thoughts on that.
So right. So like I was telling Rachel, that sometimes it develops as a way of coping eating, right? So it could be that when you were a child, usually it goes back to childhood, but sometimes not. You didn't feel safe to express your feelings, or there's a history of trauma or abuse, or you were kind of emotionally neglected, not in like a crazy, scary way, but just in the way that kids are neglected just because there's busy parents. And so you may have used food to learn to cope or numb your feelings. And then, you know, you started eating when you felt sad or bored or whatever it was. So sometimes it develops as a way of coping. And then that carries into adulthood. And then that's something that people then call emotional eating. But all eating is emotional, right? Like I said earlier, if we didn't feel emotion when we ate, like we just wouldn't want to do it. And that's why when we're stressed, we don't want to eat, because we're just not, our brain isn't thinking emotion, it's thinking survive, get out of danger. When we're relaxed, we're able to enjoy more, we're able to, you know, taste the food more, we're able to be more mindful. And think about that, all those times that you've had like a happy birthday celebration or a graduation dinner, like you remember how great that food was, and wasn't that delicious, the food at the wedding? Because it's such a happy, emotional, positive feeling for you. And that's what food is. But diet culture makes us think that eating with emotion is evil. You're only supposed to eat to survive, and only a limited amount. So if you're eating because you feel sad, there's something wrong with you and you're so pathetic and you need to get that fixed. And it's funny because I Googled emotional eating today. I wanted to see what comes up when you put in emotional eating in Google. And every single hit was like, wasn't like emotional eating as comfort or what, it was like emotional eating and, being and obesity and losing weight, and learn how to stop.
Control. Like, you just need to have more self-control.
Yeah, learn how to lose weight and learn how to stop eating emotionally and lose that weight. And, you must, like, basically saying, like, you must hate yourself if you eat emotionally. And I'm like, if you eat emotionally, I feel like you love yourself. You really do. Because you're taking care of yourself. If eating is your only tool in your toolbox, that's all you do when you're upset, that becomes a problem. But not because it's eating, but because you only have one tool for coping. Just like I would say, if exercise is your only outlet, that's a problem because you can't always do that. Like times like now, it's a lot harder to get to your gym. So if you're stressing out, oh my God, I can't get to the gym. Oh my God, I need my gym class. I would say you probably have a problem with exercise. If you can't just be like, you know what, I'm upset about my gym class and I love it and I love that routine, but I'll figure out other ways to do it, then I would say maybe there's like a dysfunctional relationship with exercise, or if you, like to have an occasional glass of wine to take care of yourself, and it turns into full on drinking every night and blacking out, or, not knowing when to stop, like that becomes a problem. So you want to have lots of different tools in your toolbox. So having just one tool of any sort is not a good thing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's why, yeah, go ahead.
No, I think so yeah, you brought up a good point where right now is a time where you can actually use whatever is happening with your eating habits to, I would, as a learning experience, like in a way to your advantage, to use it as signals. Like you said, if you use emotional eating to an extent where it's still, you don't feel chaotic, out of control, or whatever it is, and that's normal, And even if you do feel out of control, judging yourself on that, we're in already a very stress-inducing time. Judging yourself on that is only going to make you even more stressed, and stress kind of blocks your rational way of thinking, and you're not going to be able to figure this out.
Yeah.
And so if you're eating emotionally, some points that you mentioned, Rachel, is like, look at your relationship with food. If you are out of control with food now when you're in your house, the problem isn't that you're in your house stuck with the food. The problem has been there before. You're just forced to face it right now because there's nowhere else to go. And so really, dig deep and get honest with yourself on where's my relationship with food and with myself and with my body, and where can I start to heal in that? Because again, when you address the underlying reason, the food by default, your eating habits by default start to feel better because you're addressing the underlying reason. And so you said coping mechanisms, right? So let's say someone knows only how to use food as their coping mechanisms because they have an unhealthy relationship with food, and so now they're so stuck on the food, it spirals, and it's really, really challenging right now. What other coping mechanisms can they use right now to help them feel more balanced?
So I would say learning to talk to people, to reach out to people is really important. So if you have a friend, a spouse, a sister, someone like that, it could be through a text. It doesn't have to be picking up a phone, although I think now because we have all this social distancing, I think hearing someone's voice is really important. A FaceTime, a WhatsApp video chat, whatever it is, reaching out to people and asking for support is really important. So, if it's something that's very heavy, obviously you don't want to burden a friend with that. And I would say definitely try to reach out to a therapist, but reaching out to friends, that's important. Support, human connection is a huge, huge positive tool that we can use to just help us. Even your friends aren't going to solve your problems. Your husband, your sister, your wife, your mother, she's not going to be able to fix it for you. But just knowing that someone's there to listen and to be like, oh, that sounds really hard. Or it's hard for me too. Like, we're in this together. Like, yeah, my day sucked. Like, the kids were fighting and I didn't get any work done and I don't know what's going to be with this coronavirus. It's so validating to just hear that and to hear you're not alone. Like, we're all sucking at this together. That's such a wonderful thing to hear. So I think reaching out is really important. Going for walks, movement of any kind, like, don't underestimate that. And that's actually something that I learned very much on my breaking away from diet culture was, thankfully my practice has been very, very busy and I haven't been able to get to the gym, which I love my gym and I love the classes, and I wasn't able to get there. And I decided, I'm going to start like walking to work. instead of driving there, my work is really close to my home. I said, I'll walk to work, I'll walk to pick up lunch, I'll walk in between clients, just like to move, because I'm sitting all day in my chair. I don't feel good. Like my bones hurt from sitting all day long. And I can walk and just move my body, and like I don't feel pressured to feel like, ugh, but I didn't burn enough calories. It's not worth it to walk to work because I'm not going to burn any calories, or I'm not going to lose weight from it, or I'm not going to look different. Or like I felt so much joy and like happiness about doing something good for my body by walking, and not because I wanted it to look different or change my weight or anything. I just wanted to do something good for myself, and it just felt better. Fresh air, sunlight, movement, especially in between sessions, like just getting out and like stretching and like moving my limbs. It was so freeing to be like, wow, I still love my gym and I want to go there, but if I don't go, I don't need to be stressed out, and I can still do something good for myself that is just as good as going to the gym, without wondering like, oh, did I burn enough calories today? Did I lose any weight this week? Like, doesn't matter. I'm just moving in ways that are good for me. So walks are important. Listening to music. Right now, also, this is always on YouTube. There's a lot of like free meditation. You could just type in like, anxiety meditation or sleep meditation. There's awesome meditations that you could really play it. They're like some of them are 3 hours, so you could just put it on and like fall asleep, and it'll turn off when you're done. And it's amazing. And I'm not a person that likes yoga or meditation, but there's one, I have to find the name. I forget the name of the guy that does it. He has the most amazing meditations that like knock me out at night when my brain is like spinning and circling. So
I was just gonna mention, that's also another point where if you're like, but I have kids around during the day, like I'm not listening to meditation. It's like, that's fine. Even going to sleep in a calmer mindset helps you wake up the next day in a calmer mindset, and that kind of keeps the cycle, like more calm cycle going. So yeah, I like that you mentioned the bedtime. Like you can just listen to it bedtime, like that's okay.
And you can even tell yourself, like, I can't do this now, but I know once I put the kids to bed, I'll be quiet, like I'll do that meditation. Like you could even have something to look forward to. So during the day, you might not be able to get to those things that suit you. If you know that you have what to look forward to, like I'm going to have a cup of like hot chocolate or decaf coffee or whatever, and I'm going to read a book or listen to a meditation or watch a live with Rachel, and I'm going to relax. Like I have something to look forward to. So that kind of like also is a little bit of like in your head, it's like, okay, like I just need to get to that. I just need to get to 9 o'clock. I just need to, and I'll be okay. So you could do something for you to look forward to even. And I think that's helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if it's like the smallest thing. Like I think we think like self-care or something for us has to be this like big planned out thing, but it could be going to bed with like a meditation in like a calmer manner. You know what I'm saying? And just to bring back around to the emotional eating aspect of things, it's again, I love that you mentioned that exercise was really a shift in mental health for you. But mental health by default will benefit your physical health. So if you're concerned about your physical health, focus on your mental health, right? And when it comes to, let's say, eating emotionally, and you're like, okay, I want to eat emotionally, rather than fighting it, embrace it and say, you know what, food will come from me now. Let me decide what I'm going to, like, make it conscious emotional eating. Like, let me decide what I'm going to enjoy at the end of the day after being with my kids for so many hours. I am going to get that ice cream bowl. I'm going to put all the toppings, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to enjoy it. And you know what I'm saying? So it's completely different in how you're enjoying it, because if you just get spiraled into that guilt, you're not even really experiencing the ice cream. And then you go for another bowl and another bowl because you're not really ever satisfied. Right. So I love that shift of switching it from like physical health to let's focus on mental health. By default, your physical health will improve if you're concerned about that. So thanks for mentioning that.
Just fleshing out that point a little more, like we know that food impacts your gut and your nutrient absorption. And there's also studies that have showed that people that are enjoying their food get more benefits, more nutrients from the food they're eating versus not. So you could be eating a salad and hate it, and you don't get the benefits of the person who's eating like the greasy food, but loving it. So not to say that every time that's the case, but there's been research that like how you're feeling when you're eating impacts your ability to get nutritional benefits from your food. So enjoyment is a huge part of your food. and of your experience and your health. So if you're eating a salad and you're like, my life sucks and this better make me skinny, it's not doing anything good for you. You're stressing out. Your cortisol levels are probably shooting up. You're not focused on your food, right? And we know this also, like when you go to the gym, my instructor will say, like, pay attention to what you're doing. We know that if you focus while you're exercising, like it tends to work the muscles better. So it's the same thing here. If you're focusing while you're eating and you're enjoying, you are doing more for your body and benefiting it more in more positive ways. So really look at how you feel.
That comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you feeling happy about your food choices? And if you're feeling guilt and shame, where is that coming from? You know, where is that guilt and shame? And then again, you need to work on that. Dieting will not emotional eating. It will not fix your issue. It's just a distraction. And saying, oh, but I really should eat this because it's better for me. It's not better for you, because if you're not in a good mental state, it's actually harmful to you, you know?
And just one thing that you just mentioned, guilt and shame, something I want to mention is guilt and shame was something that someone else taught you. No one is born saying, like, eating ice cream is bad, I should feel bad about it. That was something that was taught to you. So anytime that feeling comes up, get back to the root of where that was taught to you. Like, and know that that's not really your belief, you know? And so feeling bad about yourself for that, that's not really your narrative. You know, own back your narrative. You know, don't continue the one that was given to you. You have the power to do that, even though till now that might have been the case. You have the power to change that. So yeah, that's all really, really helpful tips. Thanks so much. I'm gonna go back and see. There was like one question here that someone, let's see, go back. Oh, someone was asking, like, she's on the front lines, like she's working daily at the hospital and she sees patients, and it's very like stressful for her because she's like right there where people with like the virus and stuff like that could potentially come. So what's your advice for someone who is in that kind of situation? I know there are not many here, it doesn't pertain to everybody, but I think those people really do need a lot of support, and you know, they are on here. So what's your advice for someone who's in that high risk situation?
Okay, so the first thing I would say is thank you, first of all, to all of the healthcare workers who are dealing with this crazy time. You are really putting yourselves out there, and I know for sure, just in the latest stuff that we're seeing, that you are working way harder than what you are typically used to, and the hospitals are really like insane with the amount of people that are coming in. So thank you so much for what you are doing. We are so appreciative, and you are really the heroes in all of this. But then I would say self-care, right? And I don't, again, not self-care like go get a manicure after work. It means validate your feelings, right? Talk to your coworkers, share, support each other, make like a support group, and you know, wherever you guys can congregate at some point and talk, like do that. At the end of the day, when you come home, like whatever it is that you need to do. So I would say for sure, in terms of this emotional eating, if you come home from that shift and you really dealt with a lot and you want a like that's what you do. Like you just take whatever you need in that moment after yourself. You want to take a long hot shower, you want whatever it is, like you need to just take care of yourself, and you need to also again connect and look for support. If you can't do this by yourself, I want you to be one and be like, I gotta be strong and I gotta put on a face and I have to be for everybody. You're a human dealing with a lot of heavy things, and you're probably going to see a lot of tragedy and scary things. So you have to be able to have someone to, you know, not to make it better for you because we can't, but someone to carry it and support you and listen to you. You know, I think that's really just important that you have someone just to talk to, because this is so hard, and I can't even imagine what you're seeing every day. And thank you. And yeah, it is crazy what you're seeing. I think that's really important, the support and just whatever you need, you know, to get by, but making sure that you're dealing with it and that you're talking about it and getting the support. It's really hard to see difficult things. I remember when I worked in a jail, my first job out of college, out of grad school, and I dealt with a lot of crazy things at the office in my clinic where I was seeing these inmates. And it was so hard in the beginning because we didn't have, like, I was supposed to have a supervisor and he wasn't really supervising but up until the point where I finally had a supervisor, it was so much for me to carry the disturbing things I would hear and see on a daily basis from the inmates that would come in and tell me their stories, or just from what was going on in the jail. It was so much for me to carry myself. So I had to talk with coworkers. I had to have a support group, supervision. So you need to get that for yourself. Some kind of support, supervision, other nurses in the hospital, talk to them, stand together. You guys really have to hold each other up. And if it's any comfort, that we are all cheering for you and grateful for you over here. And, you know, again, like I said, you guys are really the heroes, and I'm so appreciative of everything that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you, Rachel, for your time and for, you know, sharing your insights and wisdom. And just one last thing I want to just finish off with is really, you know, just do the best that you can. Personally, like I told you, I'm in a 2-bedroom. I'm actually in my living room, and you could probably hear my family, you know, opening, closing doors, trying to like keep them contained. But I was like, you know what? Present over perfect. Just show up, do your best. It doesn't have to be perfect, you know, and if you're just doing your best and getting through, that's good enough. So thank you so much, Rachel, for showing up here today as well, because I know you have a lot going on as well. You have your kids home, all of us do, and I really hope that you guys found it helpful. And yeah, keep doing the best that you can.
Yes. Thanks so much.
All right. See ya.